The gymnasium smelled like sanitized metal and recycled air, a scent Marcus Blake had grown far too familiar with during his 3 months aboard the Concordia station. He stepped through the sliding doors, his worn sneakers squeaking against the polished floor, and immediately felt every eye in the room lock onto him like targeting systems. Welcome to another day in paradise. The Galactic University's mandatory physical conditioning class was supposed to promote unity among species. What it actually promoted was the daily humiliation of watching stick-thin Valorians struggle to lift weights that Marcus could curl with his pinky finger, while the gelatinous krill literally oozed their way through obstacle courses designed by someone who had clearly never met a human being. Ah, Blake. Professor Zennar's voice dripped with what Marcus had learned to recognize as Krellian condescension. The insectoid alien clicked his mandibles together, producing a sound like breaking glass. So wonderful of you to join us. I was beginning to think you had finally accepted your physical limitations and withdrawn from the program. Marcus smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Wouldn't miss it for the world, Professor. Or worlds, I guess, given the present company. Scattered chittering erupted from the assembled students. 47 alien species, all staring at the lone human like he was a museum exhibit. The exotic Deathworlder from the infamous Terra, the planet where everything was apparently trying to kill you from the moment you were born. They had no idea how right they were. Today, Zennar announced, his translator implant rendering his clicks and whistles into perfectly accented galactic standard, we will be conducting team exercises. Competitive team exercises. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. Nothing good ever came from the word competitive in this place. You will be divided into 4 groups. Each group will complete a series of physical challenges. The winning team will receive extra credit toward their final evaluation. Zennar's compound eyes seemed to glisten with malicious amusement. Blake, you will be on Team 4. Of course, he would. Marcus glanced at his assigned teammates and suppressed a groan. There was Pip, a 3-foot-tall Niberian whose entire species had evolved in low gravity and possessed the upper body strength of a particularly weak hamster. Next to her stood Zekk, a crystalline lidhead who communicated through light pulses and moved about as fast as a geriatric snail. Rounding out this dream team was Oorla, a methane-breathing huffite who had to wear a full environmental suit just to exist in the station's atmosphere. They were doomed. The first challenge, Zennar continued, gesturing toward a towering wall covered in handholds, is a climbing race. First team to get all members to the top and back down wins the round. Simple, no? Simple, right. Marcus watched as Team 1, led by a smug Valorian named Skell who had spent the past 3 months making Earth gravity jokes, practically flew up the wall. Their elongated limbs and natural climbing adaptations made the exercise look effortless. Team 4's turn came, and Marcus felt the weight of expectation crushing down on him like Earth's gravity must feel to everyone else here. I will go first, Pip squeaked, her voice barely audible even to the translator. I am quite good at climbing. She wasn't. Marcus watched her struggle for 15 agonizing minutes, her tiny fingers slipping on holds designed for species 3 times her size. When she finally reached the top, she was trembling so badly that Marcus genuinely worried she might fall. Zekk was worse. His crystalline structure made him heavy and inflexible. Each movement took careful planning, each handhold a potential disaster. Time ticked away like a funeral march. Then came Oorla, whose environmental suit added an extra 50 pounds to his frame and limited his range of motion to roughly that of a refrigerator wearing mittens. By the time Marcus's turn arrived, Team 4 was dead last, and the laughter from the other teams had grown from scattered chuckles to outright mockery. Perhaps the Deathworlder needs a ladder? Skell called out, his voice dripping with false sympathy. I hear Earth's gravity is so crushing that humans never learn to climb properly. Marcus felt something hot and sharp twist in his chest. 3 months of this. 3 months of being treated like a fragile, primitive curiosity. 3 months of holding back, of being careful, of remembering the diplomat's warnings about not causing an interstellar incident. 3 months was apparently his limit. You know what, Skell? Marcus said quietly, his voice cutting to the laughter like a knife. You are absolutely right. Humans are terrible climbers. He approached the wall, rolling his shoulders back. His muscles, trained under one full G since birth, felt coil like springs. We are slow and awkward compared to species that evolved in trees or on cliff faces. Marcus placed one hand on the lowest hold, feeling the textured surface against his palm. We are heavy, burdened by our ridiculous bone density and our stupidly efficient muscle structure. In one fluid motion, he launched himself upward. The wall became a blur. Marcus didn't climb so much as he attacked, his hands and feet finding holes with predatory precision. Where other species needed to carefully test each grip, Marcus simply trusted his earth-forged strength and moved. His fingers dug into holds that would have been challenging for species twice his size. His legs propelled him upward with explosive force that made the wall actually shudder. 15 seconds. That was all it took for Marcus to reach the top of a wall that had taken Pip 15 minutes to conquer. The gymnasium had gone silent. Marcus didn't pause at the summit. He simply reversed direction, descending in controlled drops that would have shattered the bones of anyone not built to survive on a death world where falling meant dying. His feet hit the ground with a heavy thump that echoed through the quiet space like a gunshot. "But hey," Marcus said, turning to face Gale with that same dangerous smile, "at least we are consistent." Professor Zendar's mandibles hung open, frozen in what Marcus recognized as shock. That should not be possible. The wall is rated for advanced climbers across all standard categories. "Earth isn't a standard category, Professor," Marcus replied, his breathing barely elevated. "You might want to remember that." "Next challenge." Zendar clicked rapidly, clearly flustered. "Endurance running. 3 kilometers on the track. Your team must complete it together, at the pace of your slowest member." This announcement was clearly meant to neutralize Marcus's advantage, and it worked perfectly. Team 4 finished the run in a time so slow that Marcus briefly worried they might be lapped by Team 1. The third challenge was a strength test involving moving heavy containers from one end of the gymnasium to the other. Each container weighed approximately 200 pounds, according to the readout. Marcus picked up all 4 Team 4's containers at once and carried them like grocery bags. The fourth challenge was a reaction speed test involving catching falling objects. Marcus caught everything that came anywhere near his team, moving with reflexes honed by millions of years of evolution on a planet where predators could appear from literally any direction. By the time Professor Zendar announced the final challenge, Team 4 had clawed its way back to second place, trailing Team 1 by only 3 points. "The last challenge," Zendar said, his tone suggesting he had been saving this for exactly this moment, "is combat simulation." Marcus felt his blood run cold. "Nothing serious," the professor continued quickly, perhaps noticing the sudden tension in the human's posture. "Simply a test of tactical thinking and physical coordination. Each team will face a series of holographic opponents. You must work together to defeat them." The arena materialized around Team 1 first. Skell and his teammates moved with practiced efficiency, using their natural advantages to dispatch the holographic enemies. Their final score flashed across the board, 87 points. Team 4 entered the arena, and Marcus immediately saw the problem. The opponents were designed to challenge multiple species simultaneously, attacking from different angles and heights. Coordination would be essential. "Pip, stay behind me," Marcus said quickly. "Zekk, you have the best field of vision with those eyes of yours, so you call out threats. Oorla, you are the heaviest, so you are our anchor. Plant yourself in the center and do not move." The simulation began. Holographic creatures swarmed toward them, digital claws and teeth gleaming in the artificial light. Marcus moved like liquid violence, his earth-trained reflexes turning the arena into a dance floor where he led every step. He caught a diving predator mid-leap, using his momentum to throw it into 2 others. He dropped low, sweeping the legs out from under something that looked like a cyber wolf. He spun, twisted, struck with precision that came from a species that had spent millennia learning to kill things before they killed you first. But it wasn't just Marcus. Pip darted through the chaos. Her small size allowed her to slip past defenses and disable opponents from unexpected angles. Zekk's light pulses confused and disoriented the holograms, giving Marcus crucial split seconds to react. And Oorla, planted in the center like a boulder, provided a safe zone that kept the team from being overwhelmed. They moved as one, this impossible team of misfits, and for the first time since arriving at Concordia Station, Marcus felt something other than isolation. They felt like a unit. The simulation ended. The score appeared, 112 points. The gymnasium exploded into chaos. Voices overlapped in dozens of languages, the translators struggling to keep up. Marcus heard fragments of disbelief, excitement, and something that sounded suspiciously like fear. Professor Xandar approached slowly, his movements careful. "Blake, your performance today was quite remarkable." "Just doing what humans do, Professor," Marcus replied. "Surviving." "Indeed." Xandar's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Tell me something, Blake. Your species, these Deathworlders, this is normal for you, yes? This speed, this strength, this capacity for violence." Marcus thought about Earth. He thought about oceans that could swallow cities, predators that hunted in packs, and weather patterns that could level entire regions. He thought about humanity clawing its way to the top of a food chain that never wanted them there. "Professor," Marcus said quietly, "this is me holding back." The silence that followed was deafening. "Tomorrow," Xandar finally said, his voice barely above a whisper, "we will be adjusting curriculum. It seems we've been operating under some fundamental misunderstandings about human capabilities." As Marcus left the gymnasium, Pip scurried up beside him, her tiny legs working overtime to match his stride. "Marcus," she said, her voice filled with an emotion the translator rendered as awe. "That was incredible. You were incredible." He smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. "We were incredible, Pip. All of us." Behind them, he could hear the whispers starting, the stories that would spread through Concordia Station like wildfire. Tales of the human, the Deathworlder, the thing that moved like predator and prey combined into one impossible package. Let them talk, Marcus thought. Let them whisper and wonder and fear. Because tomorrow, gym class was going to get very interesting. Morning on Concordia Station arrived with artificial sunlight that never quite felt real, but Marcus had learned to appreciate the effort. He made his way to the gymnasium with Pip bouncing excitedly beside him, chattering about the previous day's victories in her high-pitched voice that the translator rendered as perpetual enthusiasm. "Everyone is talking about us," she squeaked. "Team 4, the underdogs who defeated Team 1. Do you know what they're calling you?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "I'm almost afraid to ask." "The Terror from Terra," Pip announced proudly. "Is that not wonderful?" "Wonderful is one word for it," Marcus muttered, though he couldn't suppress a grin. They entered the gymnasium to find it transformed. The standard equipment had been replaced with something altogether more ominous. Obstacle courses that looked like they belonged in a military training facility stretched across the floor, complete with walls, tunnels, rope bridges, and what appeared to be actual fire hazards. Professor Xandar stood at the center of it all, his mandibles clicking in what Marcus had learned to recognize as nervous energy. "Students," the professor announced, his translator carrying an unusual weight. After yesterday's events, the faculty held an emergency meeting. "We realize that our physical education program has been inadequate for preparing students for real-world challenges." Real world. The irony was not lost on Marcus. "Therefore, today we will be conducting an advanced tactical exercise. Each team will navigate this course while facing unexpected obstacles and challenges. The goal is not speed, but problem-solving under pressure." Xandar's eyes fixed on Marcus. "This is not a test of individual strength, but of team cohesion." Translation: they had designed this specifically to prevent Marcus from carrying Team 4 to victory again. Fine. Challenge accepted. Team 4 gathered at their starting position. Zekk pulsed a pattern that the translator rendered as determination. Oorla's environmental suit hissed softly as he adjusted his methane mixture. Pip looked up at Marcus with absolute trust shining in her large eyes. "All right, team," Marcus said quietly, kneeling so he could meet Pip's gaze directly. "Yesterday, we proved something important. We proved that different does not mean incompatible. Today, we prove it again. The starting signal blared, a sound that made Marcus's teeth ache. The first obstacle was a narrow beam suspended over what appeared to be a pool of something unpleasantly acidic. The beam was maybe 6 inches wide and wobbled with every step. "This is impossible for me," Oorla stated flatly, his suit too wide to safely navigate the beam. Marcus studied the obstacle, his mind racing through possibilities. Then he noticed the support cables running along the sides. "Oorla, how much can those suits withstand?" "Considerable tension. Why?" "Because you are not crossing on the beam." Marcus tested the cables. They were strong, designed to hold the weight of the beam itself. "You are crossing under it." With Team 4 working together, they rigged a harness system using their own clothing and equipment. Oorla hung beneath the beam like a methane-breathing sloth, while Marcus guided him across hand over hand. It was slow, ungainly, and completely against the expected solution. It worked perfectly. The second obstacle involved climbing through a tunnel system that shifted and rotated randomly. Zekk's crystalline structure, usually a liability, became an asset here. His rigid body allowed him to brace himself at angles that would have been impossible for flesh and blood, creating stable anchor points for the others to grab onto. "This is actually quite enjoyable," Zekk pulsed, his lights flickering with what might have been amusement. The third obstacle stopped them cold. A wall of holographic fire stretched across their path, the heat sensors confirming it was genuine thermal energy. "Jump through it," the instructions implied. "This will seriously harm me," Pip said, her voice small. "My species has very low thermal tolerance." Marcus studied the flames, noting their pattern. They pulsed in regular intervals, probably tied to some safety protocol. But the gaps were small, maybe 2 seconds at most. Not enough time for Pip to run through. "Then we do not go through," Marcus said. He looked up. The ceiling was maybe 10 feet above them, covered in ventilation grating. "We go over." What followed was possibly the most absurd moment of Marcus's life. Using his own body as a ladder, Marcus boosted Oorla up first, the Huffite's suit providing handholds for the others. Zekk climbed next, his crystalline structure creating a rigid extension. Pip scurried up last, and from the top, they were able to pull Marcus up using their combined weight as a counterbalance. They emerged on the other side of the firewall to find Professor Zenlar staring at them with what might have been respect or possibly horror. "That was not the intended solution," the professor noted. "You said problem-solving, Professor," Marcus replied cheerfully. "You did not specify which problems or how we solved them." The fourth obstacle was a combat simulation, similar to yesterday's but with a cruel twist. The holographic enemies were now specifically programmed to target the weakest team member first. They swarmed toward Pip like digital locusts. Marcus felt something primal surge through him, something that spoke to millions of years of human evolution. The pack protects its own. The tribe defends its members. No predator, real or simulated, touches what is ours. He moved like lightning, given flesh, positioning himself between Pip and every threat. But this time, he was not fighting alone. Oorla's suit servos whined as he grabbed opponents and literally threw them across the arena. Zekk's light pulses became strobing weapons that disoriented and confused. And Pip, bless Pip, discovered that her small size and speed made her nearly impossible to hit when she stopped being scared and started being angry. "You want a piece of me?" She squeaked at a holographic predator 3 times her size. "Come get it." She dodged its lunge and kicked it in what Marcus assumed was its digital groin. The hologram flickered and vanished. "That is right," Pip shouted, her voice reaching volumes Marcus had not known she could achieve. "Run away." They cleared the simulation with a score that made the display board glitch momentarily before settling on 147 points. The final obstacle was the cruelest yet, a maze constantly shifting with time limit of 10 minutes. Cameras were forbidden, so Team 4 had to navigate by memory and communication alone. "This is designed to make us separate," Oorla observed. "Each path is sized for different species. We cannot travel together." Marcus felt frustration building in his chest like steam in a pressure cooker. Every obstacle, every challenge, all seemed designed to drive home the same point. Humans might be strong, but they were alone, different, incompatible. Then Pip spoke up, her tiny voice cutting through a spiral of negative thoughts. "Then we do not navigate by sight," she said simply. "We navigate by sound. Marcus, your species has excellent hearing, yes?" "Better than most, yeah. And Zekk can create light patterns that reflect off surfaces. Oorla's suit has sonar for navigation. And She paused, then let out a piercing whistle that echoed the maze, "can make noise." So they entered the maze blind, but not silent. Pip whistled. Marcus listened. Zekk's lights bounced off corners and dead ends, and Oorla's suit pinged out distances and directions. They moved through the shifting walls like they were one organism, calling out to each other constantly. "Left turn ahead. Dead end backtrack. Opening above. Can you reach it, Marcus?" They burst from the maze exit with 30 seconds to spare, breathing hard and grinning like maniacs. Team 4 finished first overall, not by a small margin, but by an absolutely crushing 23 points. The gymnasium erupted in shocked silence, which then transformed into something unexpected: applause. Hesitant at first, from a few brave students, then building like a wave until even Professor Zendar was clicking his mandibles in what Marcus had learned was the Krellian equivalent of clapping. Skell approached slowly, his elongated frame seeming somehow diminished. "Blake, I owe you an apology. Several apologies, actually." Marcus extended his hand, Earth style, and watched Skellite nervously before reaching out with one manipulator limb. "Apology accepted, but I was not the only one owed that." Skell turned to the rest of Team 4 and bowed low, a gesture that seemed to carry weight across multiple species. "I underestimated all of you. I made assumptions based on appearance and origin. I was wrong." Professor Zendar cleared his throat or made the equivalent clicking sound. "Students, today you have learned something far more valuable than physical conditioning. You have learned that true strength comes not from individual capability, but from the ability to recognize and utilize the unique talents of those around you." He paused, his compound eyes sweeping across the assembled students. Team 4, comprised of species we consider disadvantaged, succeeded because they understood something fundamental. There is no such thing as a weak species, only weak thinking. Marcus felt Pip lean against his leg, her small form warm and solid. Zekk pulsed a pattern of satisfaction. Oorla's suit hummed contentedly. "The human concept of teamwork," Zendar continued, "appears to be more sophisticated than we gave credit for, perhaps because humans evolved in conditions that required cooperation for survival, perhaps because Deathworlders understand, on a fundamental level, that isolation means death. Or maybe," Marcus said quietly, surprised to hear his own voice, "we just learned early that different does not mean lesser. Earth has thousands of ecosystems, millions of species, and the ones that survive are the ones that learn to adapt and work with their environment rather than against it." He looked at his team, this impossible collection of beings that should not work together, but somehow did. "Humans are not special because we are strong, Professor. We are special because we learned that everyone has something to offer if you are willing to listen." Later, after the class had ended and students dispersed to their various habitats, Team 4 sat together in the observation deck overlooking the stars. Artificial gravity held them comfortably, while infinity stretched out beyond the transparent aluminum. "Marcus," Pip asked suddenly, "do you miss Earth?" He considered the question carefully. Did he miss the weight, the weather, the constant background radiation that humans had evolved to thrive under? Yes. Did he miss the isolation of being the only human on a station full of aliens who saw him as either a curiosity or threat? Not anymore. "I miss parts of it," Marcus admitted. "But right now, sitting here with you all, I think I have found something Earth never quite managed to teach me." "What is that?" Oorla asked, his translator making the question sound genuinely curious. "That home is not always a place. Sometimes it is a team. Sometimes it is 3 impossible friends who taught a Deathworlder that being strong means knowing when to let others carry you." Zekk pulsed a pattern that needed no translation. Agreement. Happiness. Family. In the distance, Concordia Station spun slowly through the void, a sanctuary of cooperation in the cold, dark expanse of space. And in one small observation deck, for beings from 4 different worlds proved that the greatest strength of all was simply choosing to stand together. Tomorrow, gym class will continue. There will be new challenges, new obstacles, and new opportunity for Marcus to scare his classmates with casual displays of Deathworlder abilities. But there would also be Pip's laughter, Zekk's light shows, Oorla's dry humor, and the knowledge that somewhere in the galaxy, a human had found his pack, and that, Marcus thought as he watched the stars wheel overhead, was worth more than all the gravity in the universe. Subscribe and like to my channel for more sci-fi stories.